trade and industrialization and energy access when I was Director General of UNIDO. Thank you for the leadership of Kenya at that time when Africa needed a voice. He and your leadership in this country and other heads of states and governments backed the African position on many critical issues in the United Nations. I'm very pleased to be here with distinguished colleagues from the Climate Parliament, also Babel particularly sitting next to me, a more seasoned hand in legislation, but also in the executive branch. I was an MP myself up to April this year, but now I have crossed the line. I'm on the executive side now. The president said I was debating too much in Parliament, that I should come over now and do stuff. So instead of giving me just renewable energy, he gave me climate change, renewable energy, and food security all combined to ensure coordination amongst ministers, but also to create that link with Parliament. Whatever we do, it is obvious to you, we must come back to this chamber. We're very pleased with the ambition Kenya has provided for us now on the climate front, but there is a lot we can learn from you. We were very inspired to see that, in fact, Kenya at 92% renewables in their energy mix can speak truth to Germany, to the
so that you can listen to Ms. Nakayet Dramani Sam. Secretariat, please assure me that it's coming up, otherwise we proceed to the next agenda. It's coming up? Okay, just we can be patient for a second. If it's a recorded video, we can then take it at a later time. Okay, just to make more efficient use of time, we will now go to our first plenary. We will now go to our first plenary before we take our break. Okay, I'm told the video will come after. We will do our first plenary of the day so that we can have more voices and more faces in this conversation. Our next session will be on renewable energy, and it will be moderated by Dr. Joachim, Senior Policy Advisor in Broadford de Welt. I'm just reading it in Anglo-Saxon fashion. And I think Dr. Joachim will explain to us what the organization does. Is Dr. Joachim here with us?
Yes.
Dr. Joachim, so I want to request you to come and sit here where I'm sitting to moderate the next session where the panelists, so the panelists who will join Dr. Joachim are Gubas Gonul, Director, Country Engagement and Partnership at IRENA. He's already taken his position. The next panelist is Babel Horn. He's already in position. Honorable Samuel Onugbo, former MP Nigeria. The Honorable, if you don't mind, you can cross over to the government side. That's the government side under normal circumstances. The Honorable Lawrence Songa. Lawrence Songa. The Honorable Jacqueline Amongin is already in position. Honorable Saha Albazar is already in position. The Honorable Senator Wahome Wamatinga, Chair of the Energy Committee in the Kenyan Senate. So I hand over to Dr. Joachim to moderate the next session.
Thank you, Honorable Kajwang, for graciously opening this session and inviting me to moderate the next session. I'm really honored to be here and to be the moderator. Cannot really believe I'm even sitting here now in this very special place in the house. I was asked to explain what we do where I come from. I am based in Berlin, Germany, and work for a German development organization, Brot für die Welt. We are a faith-based organization and the largest development organization in Germany and even in Europe. We work with partner organizations from civil society and churches in over 80 countries globally. And me, personally, I'm heading the energy work of Brot für die Welt and work on energy issues with civil society for a very long time. So I'm very pleased to be here and to be part of this conversation because, as my colleague Mitika from PACJA already said, I think when civil society and parliamentarians work together, really special, innovative and new pieces of legislation and partnerships can come into being. And it's really a great pleasure also to be part of this African Climate Summit, and I really see a lot of dynamics coming regarding renewable energy, and it's a great pleasure to see how Africa is standing up to drive a new agenda. Without further ado, I would like to take the opportunity to welcome our distinguished panelists who will all share insights now on the importance of renewable energy, but also the challenges of it and potentials for scaling up renewable energy deployment in Africa on the local and regional level especially. And we are particularly keen now in this session to understand what challenges and opportunities they see. Also from a global perspective, what a tripling target, which is being discussed now, would mean for their respective countries, and what kind of partnerships, collaborations, and shared learning could be useful in implementing this. So our first speaker, who will give opening remarks to this session and an international view and an update to the status of global renewables, is Gurbuz Gonul, the Director of Country Engagement and Partnership of IRENA. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished member of the Parliament, guests. It's really a great pleasure for me to addressing you today and to give you IRENA's perspective of energy transition, but also some insights into African energy transition and some of the initiatives and platforms that we have created to work together to help the countries in Africa to achieve their ambitions for energy transition. Ladies and gentlemen, an energy system centered on renewable energy can help resolve many of the Africa's social, economic, health, and environmental challenges. A profound energy transition is not only feasible, but also essential for climate-safe future, in which sustainable development prerogatives are met through renewables-based energy transition. And renewables are key to overcoming energy poverty, providing needed energy services without damaging human health or ecosystems, and enabling and transformation of economies in support of development and industrialization. Today, renewables are mainstream and growing year on year. And despite global uncertainties that we have been going through globally, renewables continue to be the cheapest source of power that we can get. Last year, renewable power additions grew by an incredible 81% of the overall net power capacity expansions globally. We estimate renewables created $55 billion in savings from global generation costs in 2022, last year. 700,000 jobs were added, bringing the global total to almost 13.6 million. And when we look at Africa, the rollout of energy, renewable energy in the continent has not been at the desired pace to meet the needs of African countries. IRENA estimates that Africa needs around $70 billion annual investment up to 2030 for clean energy transformation and to keep up with the economic growth. Although Africa has 17% of the world population, it has only received 2% of the worldwide investment in renewable energy in the last 2 decades. And there are several reasons for that: the perceived or real risks for investment, regulatory environment, the capacity, skills available to support energy transition, or access to affordable financing to have this transition happen. And IRENA is working with several initiatives to support that energy transition. We have President Ruto 2 days ago launched a new initiative called Accelerated Partnership for Renewables in Africa. And energy transition has never been only for deploying renewables. It has also a much larger ripple effect for creating jobs, for stimulating economic growth, for creating resilient communities, and also to fueling green industrialization. Many of the speakers highlighted the importance of creating that value addition in the countries with the energy transition. And this initiative is very much focusing on those dimensions. And we are starting with the first cohort of 6 countries with high ambition for renewables, including Kenya, with this initiative, supported by Denmark, Germany, and United Arab Emirates, and several partners we work with. Also, another initiative we are starting at COP28. This is more about lives and livelihoods and how we can put people and communities in the center of energy transition, and how we can integrate those renewable energy solutions into health and agri-food value chains, creating value, stimulating economic activity, and help alleviating poverty. We have been closely working with the parliamentarians under the IRENA context. We have created platforms like Legislators Forum, Legislators Dialogue, having meetings, gatherings to hear from you, from the insights, and how we can promote renewables, because we consider parliaments and parliamentarians in the center of energy transition. They have a key role, and how we can create those structures to have a dialogue among parliamentarians, to share good practices, but also hear from you on the best way of taking forward energy transition discussions at the parliamentary context. And we are very much looking forward to deepening this dialogue.
Should we extend time? Yeah. You can extend time.
Okay. Just to explain the system here, I'm sorry you were cut off now. We just implemented a timekeeping instrument here, which is this flashlight that I was just explaining how it works. It is green for the first 3 minutes that you are talking, right? And then after 3 minutes, it turns yellow. And like 20 seconds before the 5 minutes that you have are up, it will turn red. Just for you to see, but I didn't explain that beforehand, so we'll give you a bit of time to finish your presentation. Sorry for cutting you off.
No problem. I was almost at the end of my intervention. I was just saying that we are very much looking forward to deepening cooperation with the parliaments and parliamentarians, because they are extremely important player in our discussions, and how we can promote and advance energy transition discussions in the parliament, and creating the right enabling frameworks and right initiatives is extremely important, and we value that cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gonu, for your input. We heard very well how important the role of renewable energy is for development. even, and for poverty eradication, energy access, and that renewable energies are becoming mainstream globally, but yet for Africa, more pace in the deployment of renewables needs to be developed, and people need to be put in the center of the transition. And I know that Honorable Bärbel Höhn puts that very often in the focus of her speeches, to put people in the center of the transition. So that leads me to her, and I welcome her to give her input now. The floor is yours for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Joachim. Before I start with maybe my experience from Africa, I would like to tell you some data from Germany and the conclusion of that. So 2 years ago, we had a new federal government in Germany, and this government was very engaged with renewables. So they eliminated blockades and obstacles and bureaucracy, and we can now see the result because renewables are expanding. For example, in 2022, nearly 10 gigawatt were installed with the renewables in the last year in Germany. 10 gigawatt in 2022, and that's really a huge number. New installed renewable energies, most of them photovoltaic. And the first 8 months of this year till the end of August, 9.5 gigawatt were installed, photovoltaic, wind turbines, renewables. That means in this year we will have more than 10 gigawatt installed in Germany in 1 year of renewables. And that means that we had in the first 8 months of this year, 59% of our electricity mix is coming from renewables. And that's a big number because we produced about 300 terawatt hours in Germany in this 8 months. And that's a tremendous number. So what I would like to say, we are doing not enough. We must be more ambitious in Germany, but we are on track. And what I would like to say is that in some sectors we are doing nothing, and especially in the transport sector. I think it's very important if the minister of this sector is really interested and engaged, or if not, or if he is very close to the fossil industry and fossil vehicles. And we can see that in the transport sector. So that means, as conclusion, most important is the political will. The political will is most important, not only in Germany, but in all countries I visited. And when I worked here in Africa as special representative for energy in Africa, I visited 15 countries, and I think there are 3 very important points, and I would like to debate with you. What do you think about that? Are the really very important points? To my view, they are very important points. The first one is training. We need to train the people. We have the same problem in Germany. We have the same problem in every country. But we need vocational training, not only academic, but vocational training, praxis training, experts that can install photovoltaic, experts that are really going to the ground, going to the households and are installing photovoltaic or wind turbines. We have in Germany something like the dual system, practical training and then in companies and added theoretical training in schools. And that was a good idea in Germany, but as I said, we need young people who are interested and work in the sector, and that means for the society that we must recognize that these professions are very important for the state, for the inhabitants. It's not only the academic professions, but also the very practical ones. Second, to me it's very important, when we are talking about renewables and decentralized renewables, we have to go to the ground. And the ground, there are the people, there are small and medium-sized companies, there are municipalities, there are cooperatives, and we have to work with them together, because one of the main points is good maintenance. When we are installing decentralized systems, it's not only the installation, but also the good maintenance and the sustainable operating system. And that's why we need the local entrepreneurs, that's why we need the local level, and that's why we need a bit knowledge, because we need also good quality of the hardware.
I'm sorry, the time is up, but of course I'm happy to give you another minute to finish your talk.
Maybe. Oh, okay, I was the first one. I have to learn about that. So only the last sentence, we have to look for financial systems that included all these ideas, especially of maintenance, because otherwise we will fail. And we can talk about these financial systems in the debate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bärbel Höhn, and since I also come from Germany, I can copy every point you made. I experienced as well in the photovoltaics industry how important it is now to train people to go to the ground and have different financial systems working. Thank you very much. Now we come further to honorable members of parliament from the African continent, and it's my pleasure and honor to invite Honorable Biyika Lawrence Songa. He's a member of parliament from Uganda and chair of the Climate Change Committee. The floor is yours, if you like.
Thank you very much, moderator. My name is Biyika Lawrence Songa, the chair of the Climate Change Committee in Uganda. And I'm happy that we have a big delegation here led by my deputy, Honorable Jacinta Atuto. They may stand. A big delegation from Uganda. Thank you. The three areas of my conversation, one is the focus of renewable energy and insight from my experience in Uganda, the opportunities and barriers or challenges to renewable energy in Uganda, and what and how regional and international support required for addressing renewable energy in Uganda, and also the meaning of renewable energy to me in Uganda. I want to start by saying that the increasing awareness of the dangers caused by climate change has made renewable energy a focus, and has also caused many countries, including Uganda, to start talking about transition to renewable energy, low carbon economy, and also replacing fossil fuel with renewable energy. Agenda 2030, declared on 25th September 2015, the SDG with 17 goals gave a boost to renewable energy, if only issues to do with governance policies on renewable energy are implemented. Especially SDG 7 depend on quantity and quality of energy, and they are very key to the development of a country, but also quality of life, whether you talk about education, health, water, sanitation, security, industrialization, and productivity. Uganda has a substantial amount of renewable energy and evenly distributed in the country. And this includes wind with a speed of 2 to 6 minutes per second, hydropower capacity of 4,100 megawatts, but only installed about 1,000 megawatts. We also have solar, the average of which is about 5.1 kilowatt hours per meter square, and also geothermal, about 450 megawatts, but not well developed. Biogas, annual yields of about 50 million tons, and also peat, although some people don't treat peat as a renewable, but others consider so, about 800 megawatts, and this is equivalent to about 250 tons of oil equivalent. And we have also the biomass, which is majorly used, about 90%, and with firewood of about 78.6%, charcoal 5.6%, crop residues of 4.7%, and cogeneration, renewable through cogeneration of about 1,650 megawatts. Now, this is already a rich area for renewable energy in Uganda. But all this potential, if well developed, can generate about 7,200 megawatts of electricity. And if developed with policies and making access low, the cost to be low, but Uganda has the smallest per capita energy consumption in sub-Saharan Africa. Much as we are talking about the global consumption of 168,515 terawatts, but only Africa has 3%. That's according to the International Energy Agency 2010. Therefore, there are opportunities we can explore in Uganda to address renewable. First, Uganda adopted the roadmap with goals and work plans to scale up renewable energy. Also, Uganda believes in increased investment in renewable energy that would improve national grid supply, boost energy security, and advance sustainable development. Therefore, with all this support of the government, I call upon the international community to increase climate financing. We are also talking about giving us good price for carbon so that with our rich biodiversity, we shall be able to address the issue of renewable. But we are also talking about debt swap because we...
Yes, please finish.
Most of the damage caused by climate change was caused by outsiders. So we are saying, can we cause a debt swap? Because that will make us to have a level ground. The high rate of deforestation is because we don't have alternatives. Therefore, these are issues that we need to address. The high interest loans, we need trade instead of loans. The dim energy, we need energy, we invest in energy, and it must reach the people, and it must be strong, reliable, and for industrial use. And also we need to invest in research and development, reliable energy infrastructure, and address replacement for renewable energy. For example, subsidies for kerosene can be used for renewable energy. These are our position, and we think if we can work together, we shall be able to scale up renewable energy in Uganda. After all, we are rich in biodiversity, and we have high potential. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Biyika Songa. I think your call was very much heard with the need for international climate financing, new finance instruments, debt swaps, and supports to be able to invest further in renewable energy to use the untapped potential in Uganda. Now I would like to hand over to Honorable Samuel Onwigbo, former Member of Parliament from Nigeria and from the Climate Change Committee from Nigeria. Honorable Onwigbo, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon or good morning, everyone. I would like to just say a few points based on the guidance I was given. First is to say that what we are doing in Nigeria is going to be part of the whole approach that Africa intends to adopt in tackling the challenges coming from both climate change and the issue of renewable energy. For instance, in Nigeria, with a population of about 223 million people, we know that less than 40% of that has access to electricity as a whole. And we also know that we have abundant raw materials. We have sun, we have water, and we also have wind. But we've not been able to get to that point. Let me also point out that over the years, for nearly a little over 50 years now, issue of electricity remained in the exclusive list of the Constitution. But I'm happy to announce that the 9th National Assembly, which I served in alongside one of my colleagues there, Honorable Bolus, we were able to amend the Constitution to remove electricity from where it was handled only by the federal government. We have not been able to push it down to the concurrent list, even to the point where local governments can get involved in it. So it's a major amendment. Following that, the 9th Assembly was also able to pass a revolutionary Electricity Act 2023, which was assented to by our president, who recognized in his inaugural speech that electricity will become more accessible and affordable to businesses and homes alike. Power generation should nearly double, and transmission and distribution networks improved. We will encourage states to develop local sources as well, unquote. So in line with that, in a few weeks after that, the law passed by the National Assembly, 9th National Assembly, was assented to by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, just few weeks, about 2 weeks after he assumed office. So we on a path to truly revolutionize the entire process. And I know that in one of the laws, it was made explicit in one of the sections that any law passed by the state, that is to tell you that it's been further strengthened, will not be either countered by the federal, because the states have not been given authority to be able to make laws on electricity and all that, including renewable energy. So when you look at these together, you would then find that we have taken the proper step towards meeting our electricity needs, taking into consideration the contributions from renewable energy. And that is very, very, very important. Let me also add that in the whole nation, the local governments we have is 774, and we have 36 states. So this law, in line with the Climate Change Act, which by the grace of God I sponsored, which we passed in 2021, and it was assented to. They are in line because in our Climate Change Act, we also provided for these subnationals to participate in national decision-making by the council that is chaired by Mr. President. So we have now seen that this law, Electricity Act, is also in tune, it's in line with the Climate Change Act. So we are now going to be able to take advantage of our population, available materials or raw materials, and also the fact that we have a huge market. I've seen the lights, taking a different position, so I should be moving faster than before. But let me say that Nigeria has over 60% youthful population and lack of electricity access to over 40% of its estimated population of 223 million, with abundant raw materials of adequate sun.
Again, of course, you have a minute to finish.
Thank you. Of adequate sun, wind, water, etc., is ready market for investors in renewable energy. Let me conclude by advising investors, and of course this includes Nigerians. And let me digress a bit and point out the fact that in our telecommunications privatization, it is driven by an African approach, because when we called on international telecommunications firms to participate in it, they were reluctant. But it was the local, let me call it African company, the MTN, that joined forces with us and now use that position to leapfrog. So I see that this is also going to happen with our renewable energy experience. I therefore use this opportunity to invite not only the international community, but our fellow African brothers to work on this and achieve it. Let me also thank this wonderful, great parliament for affording us this opportunity to share these ideas. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you so much, Honorable Samuel Onukbu, for your insights on recent legislation in Nigeria. I would now like to hand over to Honorable Jacqueline Mongin, Member of Parliament from Uganda and Chair of APNC. So, Honorable Jacqueline, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much, our moderator and honorable members present here. Already my chair of the Committee of Climate Change of Uganda, Honorable Lawrence Nsonga, has effectively talked about Uganda, and mine would be to just add a voice on what Honorable Lawrence has talked about. I would like to also emphasize on the fact that Uganda is rich in renewable energy resources, including hydrogen power, biomass, solar energy, geothermal peat, and wind. And therefore, many renewable energy resources that can be used for energy production. Although I would state here that Uganda has not yet tapped its potential in regards to this direction. Uganda has also put in place policies that could be related to championing renewable energy in the country, including Uganda adopted in 2002 different policies that could be related, including the climate change policy of 2015 and all the other policies that have been addressed by the different, have been addressed differently in Uganda, including Uganda being part of the energy for all, and all the other instruments that have made Uganda to redirect its engagement in regards to promoting renewable energy. Of course, there are so many opportunities in Uganda. As you are aware, 26 million people are not yet served by power. And that gives Uganda a potential in terms of now promoting, instead of just powering Uganda, but powering going renewable as a country. It is among it's among the access deficit countries in Africa, and I think this gives Uganda a very good strategic ground in terms of promoting renewable energy. The Uganda Investment Authority in 2018, among the businesses published for attracting investors in the country, included viable projects within Uganda, including geothermal exploration, among others, and that definitely relates to renewable energy. I would like to borrow the example of Germany, and those are the countries that have done well in renewable energy, and I think Uganda is one of those countries that has the greatest actually potential. Like in my earlier speech when we were opening, I talked about the wind energy potential is very viable in Uganda. However, we still have challenges. The challenges that we have as a country, and that may not only be for Uganda, it could also be to other countries, is we are delving into using renewable energies like solar, among others, that have poor quality. So we need to build our own potential within Africa, within the country, to be able to assemble our own energy plants within the country so that we do not really rely on poor quality that is brought from the different parts of the world. It is also a potential for local entrepreneurship. So with those, a lot of things have already been talked to by Honorable Nsonga, but vocational training in this direction is very key, and emphasizing that entrepreneurs take this as a business would be a way forward in terms of championing renewable energy access for all Ugandans, but to me, I believe for all Africans that are not yet served with the renewable energy potential. I thank you.
Thank you very much. The light was not even red. Thank you for this and giving some more insights on legislation in Uganda and I found it inspiring to see also see it as an opportunity for Uganda to promote renewables to combat energy access and the need to build an own renewable energy industry on the continent. Thank you very much. Now I would like to hand over to Honorable Zaha Al-Bazar, Member of Parliament from Egypt and Deputy Chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee. The floor is yours.
Thank you. For Egypt, Egypt gives a high priority for renewable energy opportunities due to the availability of the natural resources. For instance, Binban Solar Park in Aswan, it highlights the immense potential of solar power generating. Binban is one of the largest solar installations globally, consists of 41 solar power plants, with a total capacity of 1.65 gigawatts, providing electricity to more than 1.5 million households. Also, there is the Za'farana wind farm, which is along the Red Sea coast, illustrates our commitment to wind energy with over 600 megawatt of installed capacity. This project signifies the contribution and the importance of reducing the reliance on fossil fuel in Egypt. We also see the investment in projects for renewable energy as an opportunity for job creation. The construction and the ongoing maintenance of renewable energies, like, for example, the West Bakr wind farm, it employed hundreds of local workers, demonstrating the economic benefits of renewables. Moreover, in Egypt, we are actively attracting green finance. Egypt successfully secured financing for the Komombo solar plant, which provides around 200 megawatt facility located near Aswan. These kind of partnerships and this kind of work to attract green financing is also backed by government efforts and parliamentary efforts. From the government side, we had the feed-in tariff program to provide attractive incentives to renewable energy developers and private sector investments. And for parliaments, our parliament had a priority to have a policy framework for the renewable energies, and we have Egypt's renewable energy law, and with the establishment of the Egyptian Electricity Utility and Consumer Protection Regulatory Agency, we both played a vital role in providing a stable regulatory environment. And for the question of partnership regionally and internationally and how it helps us as parliamentarians, I can say that we find it very supportive in capacity building. We understand more and we learn more from our regional and international partners the regulations of electricity markets, promoting clean energy and improving the energy efficiency. Also, attending and participating in regional and international forums like, for example, IRENA, IPU, the Mediterranean Energy Regulators Forums, where we meet parliamentarians like you, honorables here. We share experiences, we share best practices. Such forums helps us learn more from each other and actually form a regional partnership and regulatory frameworks. In closing, Egypt is dedicated to go ahead with its renewable energy journey, and we welcome collaboration with international partners and harness the full potential of renewables, creating jobs, strengthen our infrastructure, and contribution to greener and sustainable future for everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zaha Al-Bazar, for those insights on legislation also in Egypt regarding feed-in tariffs and an Egyptian renewable energy law, and for highlighting the need for international fora to exchange on capacity building, how to regulate markets, how to advance energy efficiency, and so on. Thank you very much. I would now like to announce our the final speaker of this panel now, Honorable Senator Wahome Wamatinga, Member of Parliament in Kenya. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Moderator. Thank you very much, Session Chair. Let me take this opportunity, first of all, to congratulate us all for, first of all, taking time to sit down here and have a candid discussion of what needs to be done. Kenya enjoys 86% of renewable energy from the matrix of hydro, geothermal, solar, and biomass. However, we have a penetration rate of about 77%. This could be very deceptive because we still have not generated enough to feed our industrial development as envisaged in the Vision 2030. However, from the amount of energy that's generated, we have only about 24% being not renewable, but these cost about 70% of the amount spent on energy. I would want to maybe digress a bit and look at the PPAs, which are the major providers of energy, and look at the financing models. And I want to borrow heavily from what the speaker said. We know that most of these PPAs are financed by money borrowed from the World Bank, from other institutions, international institutions. These are pension funds from developed countries. I would want to challenge ourselves as African legislatures. It is time that we remodel our pension funds. It is time that we look at our financing models so that we do not use our investments to grow foreign pensions, but we should do that to grow African pensions. I want to take an example of this country. It takes a whole 13 years for you to get a license to produce power. This is very unattractive for any pension fund that would want to invest in that sector. And therefore, my challenge to all the legislators in this House, let us look at the laws governing some of these models so that we can use that opportunity to ensure that it is the African pensioners who benefit as opposed to the current currently constituted PPAs where most of the monies are borrowed from pensions in the Western countries. My fellow legislators, we did indeed in Kenya pass a climate change amendment bill in a record 3 days in the Senate. I would want to believe we can do more for us Africans. I would also want to see us discussing more about technology exchange within African institutions, building the capacity so that we stop the over-reliance of this mentality that the Western must do it. Yes, true, the polluters must pay. But as we do that, we must also look at the practices that we can introduce in our countries so that so that the way we manage our power, the usage of power, it is done in an environmental sustainable manner. It is the responsibility of we as parliamentarians to educate, to conduct civic education, because there is a lot that we can do. We've learned in the last couple of decades, climate change has mostly affected African countries. It is the high time that now we look at laws that will govern us as a continent without having to over-rely on the Western dominance in moving this continent ahead. My fellow legislators, my challenge to us all, it is time that we came up with discussion about the cooperation within African nations, how we can do to develop regional power blocks within Africa, which we must not trade using dollars, which we can exchange, we can do better trade, so that the over-reliance on dollar does not kill our economy. This is a factor that we must look at. We must put legal measures in place. We must implement frameworks that will help us to harvest and to advance our own resources, using our own knowledge, developing our own knowledge base, and most importantly, knowing that we know where the problem is, and we are the ones who must come up with solutions. As parliamentarians, I would want to challenge ourselves. Let us start looking at this as the new down, where Africa must stand up for herself and say, indeed, the solution of the problems we have in climate change, we must be pioneers. As much as I would want to say, it is important that also the polluters must be brought on the floor so that we can offset the pollution that they cause with the carbon credits, and this must be put in a framework that will benefit the Africans and the people of Africa, but the champions must be the legislatures in the African continent, because the change must begin with us, and we must be the champions of that change. Chair, I submit.
Thank you very much, Honorable Wahome Wamatinga, for this very strong call for further exchange, cooperation among African nations and a truly African-led agenda. We are a bit behind time due to the session before, but our Honorable Chair gave us until 11:50 for a bit more of discussion now. So I would like to open the floor for, let's say, 3 questions, and I would like to limit those questions to 2 minutes so that we can hear really 3 more people and give the panel a chance to react briefly to that. So I would like now the audience to raise your hand if you have questions, and please excuse if I can only take 3 questions. The first one I saw was here with the white, no, here in the second row. Yes, you can please stand up and introduce yourself, and you have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Moderator. Good morning, Honorable Senator and Member of Parliament. My name is Cyril Siewe. I'm the head of UNEP for Kenya. I am very flattered to be part of these conversations, and he has been extremely educating to listen to the Member of Parliament. Yes, you're fully right, Honorable, to say that capacity building is very important, that we have to train, and not only academic training, but practical training. So me, from where I stand at the United Nations Environment Program with other colleagues from what we call the United Nations country team in Kenya, one of the questions that could come that I would also like to invite for the deliberation is, at what cost? Let's take the example of renewable energy and green transition, since this conversation and part of this conference agenda is on green transition. The cost of electric car, which is something that will probably be debated in this August room, is it something that is sustainable for average Kenyans or East Africans? If you take the medium-sized car, which is currently being produced in Rwanda, the car goes for 70,000 USD. And if you take the average profession, which is a teacher or a medical doctor, how long it would need to put aside to be able to buy this car and be part of the energy transition? What I mean here, Moderator, is how can this opportunity be also a platform to have that type of conversation and to agree as a continent and to agree as an actor, as those who set the framework, what type of enabling, what type of incentives can we put forward this conversation? We understand the pro and the cons, and therefore we create enabling environment for industry and for private sector to be part of that conversation. Thank you. I stop here.
Thank you very much for highlighting the need for an enabling environment and making those technologies really affordable for people on the ground. I saw back there a gentleman having a further question. Yes, please introduce yourself. You also have 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coordinator. My name is Dr. Emmanuel Otala, a Member of Parliament from Uganda and the Chairperson of the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. I am not asking a question, but I want to, first of all, subscribe to the submission of my honorable colleagues from Uganda, the Honorable Lawrence Songa and the Honorable Jacqueline Amongi. But I want to raise a very fundamental issue that in Uganda, for the past 20 years, we have invested close to $20 billion in oil and gas development. And I'm happy that the conversation that we are having right now is in respect to a transition to clean energy sources. And I want to observe that the developed countries that contribute much of the carbon causing the rise in climate and overall climate changes, are still continuing to invest in fossil fuel development. For the past 20 years, the developed countries have made it difficult for Uganda to develop its oil and gas. And what I'm saying is that with our investment, and in view of the fact that a transition is going to take some little bit of time, I am raising a controversial issue that Uganda will continue to develop its oil and gas in view of that, unless the main polluters compensate us and tell us that yes, now with the investment that, I'm sorry, can I just finalize on that?
Yeah, just briefly conclude, please.
Thank you. If we can be given a reparation for our investments so far, because they are the ones who have made it difficult for us to get our oil out of the ground, I must say that we must strike a balance between transition and developing oil and gas. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much for your point on investments still going in oil and gas and this argument of needing, of striking this balance. I saw one gentleman over here. You have the floor for 2 minutes, and then we give the panel the possibility to react.
Thank you very much, Sessions Chair, and thank you very much, our Super Senator, Otieno Kajwang, for this opportunity to ask a very pertinent question. Now that we have those who pollute the environment and those who clean the environment, the West being the pollutants and the African being the lungs that clean the environment. And yesterday, our president talked about introduction of taxes, because when we depend on donation to be able to mitigate the issue of environmental pollution, then we may not go far. Where can we come in as legislative arms, either the Pan-African Parliament or East African Legislative Assembly, or even local assemblies, to be able to set laws that will enable those who pollute the environment to pay taxes for pollution, and then those taxes be used to compensate the lungs of the environment. Lastly, I want to ask another question on the issue of persons with disability and climate change. In Africa, we have approximately 100 million persons with disabilities. Crutches, wheelchairs, and other assisted devices are manufactured in factories. How can we be able to urge them, those factories, to use renewable energy? If I may just give an example, in Kenya we have 400,000 wheelchair users. Those are Kenyans sitting on a metallic worth 12 billion factory. So how can we come in to be able to use renewable energy in the manufacture of assisted devices for persons with disability? Let us not leave anybody behind. Also, persons with disability should be involved in this climate change summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much for raising those points on the need of new taxes, and also to leave no one behind, and see how also people with disabilities can be taken on board of this transition. I would now just give the panel the chance for very brief reaction, maybe 1 minute per person, and maybe you can focus on one of those issues raised in your intervention. And I would like to start with Honorable Onwikbu, since he's there in line, and then go one by one of the speakers.
Thank you very much indeed. I listened to what Dr. Otela said when he was talking about the cost, about $70,000 US to acquire a vehicle or so. All I would like to say is to encourage us as a people, as a continent, because we know the disadvantages we have faced over time. For instance, I mentioned the successful partnership or collaboration between a company from South Africa when nobody wanted to, deal with us when we were privatizing the telecommunications industry in Nigeria. It was an African company that came, and then it turned out to be a gold mine. So we can work together. The cost of telephone, 3310, they call it, was 30-something thousand, 52,000. But over time, with increased number of people purchasing, improved technology, the price just dropped. I have no doubt that that's where we're going to go as we are talking about renewable energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ben.
Yes, very brief. The problem is when we are investing in photovoltaic, we have to spend at the beginning a lot of money, and in the operating time, it's cheaper. But how can we get this money at the beginning? That is a problem. So, for example, we are looking for, from the GIZ, for funds that you can replace diesel by photovoltaic, and then you have at the end a benefit of it. As I said, financing systems, we are talking about result-based financing systems, because on the one side you have the big investments, on-grid investments, that something like PPAs, and you have to make a good contract. But we are talking about decentralized solutions, and that's the problem of maintenance. And so we would like to strengthen local market, because the big investments, they are made from foreign companies and not from the local market. So that's why we are talking about grants, we are talking about private money, and we are talking about a business case for local companies. And that's the system of result-based financing.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I thank you so much, honorable members. I still insist that the solutions must come from ourselves if we have to champion this renewable energy. And we must be the ones to know what exactly is right and copying from what those other successful countries have done. Otherwise, it is still a gap that has to be covered, and we are the people that will cover that gap. And Honorable Sankok, my colleague, raised an issue in regards to the disability. Article 21 in our constitution in Uganda talks about right, each and everyone enjoying the rights. And all our legislations, disability is mainstreamed in all acts, all bills that are adopted by Parliament and assented to by the President of Uganda. And I think this is not any different. And of course, this is a call for all of us, whenever we are championing any cause, not to leave issues of disability. Inclusion is very necessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I just want to put this very clear, that sustainable management of the environment or climate is not about don't touch. Touch it so long as the benefits are more than the cost. So we have to do a lot of cost-benefit analysis, because if we say people are using firewood and charcoal, don't touch, what will they use? There is no way someone who is using firewood will jump to start using electricity. So we have to do a lot of cost-benefit analysis in our decision. Then number two, there was a mention that 2% of the renewable energy fund from the global community is reaching Africa. Do you know why? Because we have an agency that is doing the credit rating based in South Africa and doing credit rating for the whole 54 countries of Africa. And so in Africa, the countries that are scoring high is only Mauritius, Botswana, and so other countries cannot get that credit from that loan from the private sector, who are told that we are still scoring below capacity. Otherwise, for us, we still recommend that we do the energy mix in Uganda, and we move towards net zero. And there is still time frame up till 2050 or 2030 that we can do that. So what is the problem with generating 100% tons of greenhouse gases and absorbing it all in the sink? Thank you.
Thank you. So the final speaker in this round would be Honorable Zahra Al-Bazar from Egypt.
Thank you, and again, I would like to thank this opportunity for exchanging and learning from each other as parliamentarians. I stress very hard on platforms where we can share best practices, best regulations, learn from each other, and have an inclusive policy framework, platforms and opportunities where we can help each other to learn. The other thing is I also would like to emphasize the role of young people in our local communities. And as young parliamentarian, I also call for other parliamentarians to empower young people to participate and raise their awareness about the importance of renewable energies and how it's beneficial for our economies and our communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we have come to the end of this session. So honorable members of parliament, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, it was an honor to moderate this session. I think we learned a lot about opportunities, legislation, obstacles of renewable energy there. We have just heard one call to emphasize the role of young people. I would like to take that and put it a bit further, and as part of global civil society, emphasize the role of civil society also. And it would be a pleasure to continue to work with you to strengthen also the bonds of parliamentarians and civil society in general. And with that, I am now closing the session and hand over to our Honorable Chair for further remarks on the continuation of this conference. Thank you very much. And maybe a big applause also to our panel. Sorry, I forgot about that.
One very burning question. One very burning question.
Where is it coming from?
Can I?
Senator, it must be very burning. Senator Kavindu, maybe a minute. Let it be a question, not a speech.
I'll try.
Please. And it is a very dangerous window. It's a very dangerous window that I'm opening.
Yeah, thank you. My question is, we Africans are put in a place where we are meant to be very poor. But I want to say, Africans, we are not poor, because the best diamonds come from here. God comes from here. Every good gemstone comes from here. And I'm talking of gemstones knowing what I'm talking about. Africa, if these gemstones and every wealth that we have in Africa is controlled, there is nothing we cannot do. What are we meant to do as parliamentarians to capture and to control our wealth so that we can be able to get the money, the finances that we need, because it is here in Africa, so that we can move forward with these climate and energy problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable members, we still have 2 plenary sessions, and we have a tea break. And I want to just propose that we do just a 15-minute tea break. And clerk, I don't know whether we're allowed to ring the bell after the 15 minutes. And then when we come to the next session, that will be moderated by our friend from Conrad Adenua, during the plenary we can take more questions. So, Mheshimiwa Simba, I've seen you've raised your hand. We can take that at the next session. And all those who were not able to, yes, Solomon from Nigeria, we can fill those questions in the next plenary session. So we take a 15-minute break tea will be served as you walk out of the chamber. Is it on the left or on the right? It's on the right. We just make it quick, 15 minutes, and then we can come back and take the other questions that are still pending. Thank you.